Hi folks, here we are down in Florida. This is a place you don't expect to see in Florida. There's lots of cars here, hundreds, probably thousands actually. This is called Old Gold, and this is in Old Town, Florida. This is like maybe 15 minutes north of Old Town, Florida, kind of in the Big Bend area. But anyway, there's lots of stuff here, so we're going to take you around, show you what there is. And you can Google them and look up their info if you want to call him or whatever. He's a good guy. They're only open a couple days a week, I think Tuesday and Wednesday before lunch. So you want to make sure you schedule something, but we'll take a look around here and show you what there is here. Well, we'll start here and show you some of the cars. Here's a few 46, 47, 48 era Fords, couple coupes right here. Now this guy said that there's a lot of snakes in the grass, so keep an eye on the ground. And so I'm not going to dig in between them too much. I'm just going to kind of pan by them, stay in the roadways pretty much. Another Ford here. There's a shoebox Ford. So some of these are really parted out and some got lots of good parts on them yet. So it just depends what they are. Another Ford Galaxy there. Got some Cadillacs here. Eldorado. This ground is kind of rough, so you're going to catch me bouncing a little bit. It's really sandy too. Typical Florida, you know, just like it's like beach sand underneath this real soft sand. So there's quite a few Cadillacs in a row here. All kinds of caddies. He's got them pretty well organized here. Those are all Cadillacs, and it looks like these are all a lot of Cadillacs on this side too. So you must try to get them into sections. This is another 46-8 Ford right here. This one's a two-door. Look at the Lincoln here. Lincoln sedan. There's a 56 Ford, four-door sedan there. Got a Chevy Nova. That almost seems like a worthwhile project there for somebody. So we must be in the Cadillac section because I'm seeing lots of caddies here. This one here got the front cut off of it. See a lot of cars getting fronts cut off of them for wall hangers and stuff. It's a Cadillac hardtop. I don't know exactly where to start because we're first time being here. I don't know where the roadways go, but you can hear them in the distance. They're taking stuff apart. He had his forklift here when I got here. Had some customers that were pulling some parts. All kinds of Cadillacs. I mean, there's hundreds of Cadillacs right in this little area here. Love the back end of these Eldorados. Look at the styling on that. That one come out of Fort Worth right there. Looks like a Texas car originally. Not sure how far he goes to get these, but he was talking to me up front and mentioned how he used to go out to Iola and buy stuff. And I told him how we go there and how we're from South Dakota. And he says, well, what are you doing in Florida? Because all the good stuff's out west as far as the rust-free metal. I said, well, we're just on a vacation getting away from the winter a little bit. But it's true, you know, the things out this way get a lot more rust. As warm as it gets and they don't get any snow, they get salt air and a lot more moisture. And depends where the cars are coming from, but if they're from the coast, they do get a lot more rust on them. But you still get lots of good pieces. There is just a giant pile of Cadillacs here. It's really an interesting place because in Florida here you get basically things turn into a jungle. Get all overgrown and stuff. Vines growing on stuff and makes them a little difficult to see at times. Just trying to watch my feet as we go. He said keep an eye on the ground for snakes. So I'm going to do just that, but it might cause for a bouncy video at times because I'm not looking where I'm videoing. There's a Cadillac convertible. Got some more Finn Cadillacs over here. Well, this place must be really big because we haven't even got through the Cadillac section yet. So we're not going to be able to show everything or talk about everything just because there's so many of them. We just pick out a few and kind of show them and give you a rough idea of what there is here. Looks like we got some 59 and 60s back in there. These videos are more to give you a rough idea of what there is at places. Some of the swap meets we do show prices and phone numbers and stuff like that, so you could actually contact people and buy them and get a better idea of what they are. There's an older Cadillac there, 40s one, looks like a limo. Look at this one here, this is a hearse. It's all grown over. You can see the long hearse body there. There's another one over here too in the weeds. Check this one out. Well, maybe I'll come around the backside. I'll jump you on the backside here. There's some Pontiacs there. Right in there, you got a couple Pontiacs. Here's the Cadillac hearse or ambulance that we were talking about. That's a pretty cool car. Looked like it's been sitting there a while. Fairly complete. And that one didn't look too horribly rusty. Some of them, that's the interesting part about Florida. Some cars, like I was saying, they're near the coast, they get bad rust like up in the top areas. The hoods and the roof and the rain gutters. There's a Pontiac convertible there. But some other areas of Florida, they aren't really too bad. It just depends where they're coming out of. So this must be all the GM area. Got a Buick two-door hardtop in here. Two-door hardtop Buick body there, special. This is a Chevelle right here. And he's also got buildings. This building here, there's another building up in the front where we first came in. And there's just seas of parts in those. And he says all those are parts he's taken off that people didn't come to get. But they're full of bumpers and doors and all kinds of stuff. So this guy's been a busy guy from the looks of it. You can see in this building here. Look at all the wheels and stuff out on the front here. But I'm assuming he's been doing this for a long time. And you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Look at all the drive shafts up on the shelves, bumpers everywhere. Over here you got crank pulleys. Look like he, maybe had more stuff here at one point. Had the shelves marked. But yeah, there's slews of bumpers. And these bumpers have been out of the weather for a long time, so they're a little better shape than one that's been sitting out. Cylinder heads. Pretty cool place. Look at all the steering columns, steering boxes, transmissions on the bottom. So that kind of stuff, you just got to know what you're looking for. That's the key to finding your parts that you need for your project, is just to know how to spot them, even if it's at a swap meet or whatever. If you know how to spot them quick, because if the people can't identify them, usually the price is a lot cheaper. So if you can spot them yourself, sometimes you can get a real good deal. All kinds of wheels there. 58 Chevy two-door Del Rey. Some early 60s Chevy truck. We get a few more cars back there in the pucker brush. That one looks like a cut-off convertible, maybe. There's a Ford here that had the top cut off it. Maybe it was a convertible and they wanted the donor pieces kind of what it looks like. We'll jump ahead here a ways. It looks like we get a Camaro here. Quite a few Chevys up in here, a lot of different Chevy stuff. And they are all through the trees here too. Like I said, I just don't want to get in there too deep and find a snake in there. There's an Olds convertible there. And this one looks like maybe a Chevy GM convertible of some sort. Just saw a little lizard go into that car. Salamander or lizard, I'm not sure what they have down here, but I get a lot of hardtops and convertibles, you know, being down in Florida, the sunny weather, people buy hardtops and convertibles a lot compared to South Dakota where we get mostly trucks and sedans and stuff. We don't get a lot of rust, but we don't find convertibles very often. There's one back in the pucker brush here. Let's see what that one is. Looks like a Buick probably. Back in the weeds there. Skylark convertible, I think. And then we get a Jag here. Looks like a Chevelle over here maybe. Got a new trail back in there. I don't see any vehicles back in there. He must have quite a property here. A lot of area to put stuff. See what these are over here. I'm surprised at the amount of convertibles. Lots of convertible stuff. Another Buick, looks like. Skylark. Here's what's left of an Impala. Some of these convertibles, they take and cut the tops off years ago, you know, get the top pieces of special stuff for convertible, and they take and convert a hardtop or something. Another Cadillac, looks like. I'm not sure what that one is. Almost looks like a Ford, but I'm not positive, but more remnants of a convertible back in there. Well, we just kind of walked down this path because I've seen a couple buildings up here. I'm not sure what's in them, but we did see, looks like a little Nissan or something pickup, and then there was a front clip laying there. Kind of seeing a few parts and pieces laying along the edge of the trail here, but I was just kind of getting back here to these buildings to see what there is in them. These buildings are falling down. There's a bunch of motors in that one. See what's in the building back here. Got some big holes in the ground here. I don't know what those holes are from, so I'm gonna watch out for those. And looks like a Pontiac back in there. Bunch more motors. Here's a flathead Ford. There's a straight 8 GM engine, maybe out of a Pontiac. There's a Pontiac car there. There's some Chevy engines. There's a GMC engine there. Looks like he's got quite a few motors underneath these covers here, all covered up. He probably knows what they are. If you call him up and ask him for a motor, he probably can tell you. Car under the cover. But these buildings are kind of abandoned out here. There's even like a little, what do you call them, a little portable garage over there with a couple cars under it, but those are way off in the pucker brush, so we're gonna jump further out into the more concentrated cars. Well, we get all kinds of stuff out in here. Check them out. It looks like a Pontiac. There's just seas of stuff everywhere. It's kind of hard to tell. I guess I'll go up this aisle here, tell where to go. Get a Chevy here. That one's donated a lot of parts. Ain't much left of that one. Look at the Ford Thunderbird front end here. Kind of wild. Got quite a few fronts of cars here. Yeah, looks like a Pontiac over there. Another Pontiac under the tree. Looks like a Le Mans maybe. Mostly GM stuff back in here. Look at the El Caminos over here. Got remnants of one there. I got another one back in over there. Looks like another Pontiac hardtop there. Quite a sea of stuff here. Firebird. There's a Ford pickup here, F100 long box. And I see some more Cadillac limos and hearses over in here. To show you a couple of these here. These are all limousines here. These two. This one's a two-door hardtop mixed in there. And then on the other side, we have some more hearses over here. Big Cadillac hearses. So I got quite a few there. Another one back in there. There's four of them right here. We're gonna jump over this side here a little ways. You can hear the road noise because we're right off a major highway. But with all the trees and stuff, you really can't see it from the road. You're passing down the road. GPS says pull in, and like in the bushes you can see an old wrecker with a sign on it or something. You almost drive right by it. It looks like we got the Camaro and Firebird section over here. Got rows and rows of those. Look at them all. Quite a sea of those in here. There's another later El Camino over there. Got a big Catalina hardtop here, Pontiac. So this must be the Pontiac section. I've seen a lot of Pontiacs over this way. But every once in a while you see something else mixed in. I mean, there is just seas of them. I can't show enough of them here because they're all buried in the trees and stuff, but hopefully it shows up good in the video. See where this one come out of. Florida, Fort Lauderdale. That was the car dealer on that one back in the day. These are mostly Pontiacs over in this neighborhood. It's always fairly well organized as far as all the caddies being together, the Pontiacs. These are mostly all Pontiacs up in here. And there is quite a slew of them. There's a four-door hardtop that donated its top. I think another reason you see so many missing tops is you get these cars from the coast down here and people need to repair them because the rain gutters are all rusted off them, so they buy the top off one and weld it onto theirs maybe, I'm guessing. Even got a wagon back in there, Pontiac wagon. Here's another Bonneville. So any of these cars you want to identify on the video, you can just go and comment on the video and tell us a minute mark and identify it. See how many you can identify. Make a good challenge, wouldn't it? Show your talent if I'm buzzing by it with a video. See how quick you can spot them, recognize them. There's another one of those little lizards crawling across the hood of that one. And I see another wagon way in the back there. These are all Pontiacs. Quite a few holes in the sand here. I don't know what's digging them. Just trying to keep an eye on the ground here. Starting to warm up. This is spring. We're towards the end of March here. This video will probably come out in April, but it is getting warm down here in Florida, in the mid 80s most of these days. We just had snow up at home, so it's nice to get a break from the winter, but I don't know that I'd want to be down here in July. Probably pretty darn hot. Well, we'll scoot around this corner here and see what's around the bend. Still got quite a few Pontiacs here. Look at the convertible with the top up in the air there. Pretty cool. Another wagon here to the, a couple wagons over there to this side. Well, we got a couple Chevys mixed in here. Here's a 56. Looks like maybe a Chevy wagon back in there. Here's a Catalina wagon, Pontiac one. We'll jump ahead here a ways. Well, looks like we got some holes there. Just kind of panning around. There's an old square body Chevy truck there, a flatbed. Look like a 1-ton C30 probably. There's a short box, pickup box right there. There's the Olds Omega. I'm really surprised at how big this place is. I pulled in from the road and didn't think it was quite this large. Here's a square body Blazer and a Suburban. Chevy pickup there. Well, we got some more Cadillacs here. There's a whole sea of Cadillacs here along this side. Two-door hardtop body there. Another hardtop here. One on the end is a sedan. All kinds of Cadillacs. I mean, there's hundreds of Cadillacs here. I'm surprised how many are just Cadillac. Look at them all there. Every direction you look, Cadillacs. Just kind of panning around as we walk through here. I don't know if I can get up on something to give you a better idea here. We might try to do a drone footage, I don't know. Sometimes we have luck with them, sometimes we don't. Depends if there's an airport in the area or something a lot of times. Anyway, you can see, as far as you can see, this car is just about in every direction, all through the trees. There's a really big hole in the ground right there. Maybe you guys from Florida can tell us what's growing, and there's some smaller holes and some bigger holes. I see some ants coming out of some of them. Not being from down here, I don't know what you expect to find. Out near us we get prairie dogs, and when you see prairie dogs you get rattlesnakes because they eat the prairie dogs. So whenever you see a prairie dog town, you watch out for rattlesnakes as well. Look at all these caddies. Crazy. Lots and lots of them. Well, there's a roadway going that way. We're going to continue down along the path here along the edge. A lot of these cars do have Florida license plates. It's more caddies. Here's a little bit of an opened up area. He's got some space here to do something. Well, just looking up ahead there, looks like some trees or telephone poles or something have fallen down up there blocking this path. So I'm gonna have to go back to the middle, I guess. Unless I can jump over some of them. Maybe the Ford section. Maybe these trees are the division. Oops, catching my foot on something. Yeah, there's Ford's. This area is Ford area here. So we'll get through some of these for you Ford guys. Sometimes if we're showing one make or something, I have people comment on the videos, how come you never show any Chevy parts or whatever? It's like, well, I can only show what there is. If I'm finding Ford stuff, that's what I'm showing. If I'm finding Chevy stuff, that's what I'm showing. But in the older stuff, back in the pre-war stuff, the Ford stuff is a lot more popular and there's more of it out there. So when I go to a place like Hershey, a lot of times I'm finding lots of Ford stuff. But if you go to later swap meets like Carlisle, the newer stuff, you know, muscle car stuff and 50s stuff, you're more likely to see GM stuff or Mopar stuff. A lot of Mopar muscle cars out there. Yeah, these are all Fords and Mercurys. Probably gonna find some Lincolns over here. We'll keep walking here. Here's a Mercury convertible. Got some Mercurys here, a couple sedans. Still got a lot of pieces and parts on them. Look at all the Ford convertibles over here. That one's a convertible. This one here is a convertible. Some of them just have the top skins cut off them. Here's a Thunderbird here. Another Thunderbird there. It's funny, some of these cars like this, there's so much like tree residue on that you can't even see through the windows, but there's no tree right above it, but that pollen must be floating everywhere and sticking to them. There's a Ford wagon there that had maybe the roof just rusted off of it and blew off in the wind. Maybe they got a hurricane through here or something and ripped that skin right off of there. Once it gets real rusty, there ain't much holding it on. There's a Mercury hardtop here. But there is just a crazy amount. As you can see, there's no way I could walk this whole place in a reasonably length video because there is just a giant mass of them. But we'll jump ahead here a little ways. Well, there's another Thunderbird. A few Thunderbirds. Is what, 3 in a row right here. That one looks like it was a convertible. They cut the top off. Got a Ford convertible here, still has the mechanism on the top. Looks like we got some older ones back in here. There's a shoebox Fords over in that area, some of them. There's another 46 Ford here. That looks like an Edsel, probably that red one. 55 Ford. It's a 57. Look at the vines growing right out the top of it. There's some early 60s. Here's some Lincolns here. A couple big Lincolns right there. And somehow we got an advanced design Chevy back in here. There's one right there. And looks like a 59 Chevy pickup here. Right there. Makes you wonder, that one might have been a big back window at some time and it donated the window. So these are Chevy trucks over in here. I guess we've gotten into a different section here, out of the Fords and into Chevy trucks. This is one of the advanced designs. Still got some windshield garnishes in there. You have to look close, see how good they are. Sometimes they don't stay too bad if they're out of the weather and behind the windshield, but sometimes they rot out. Depends on the vehicle. Well, check out some of these Chevy trucks right here, then we'll go back in there further. Well, that's a Ford truck right there. That's interesting. There's a Ford panel truck with windows in it. And I guess there is some Ford trucks over in there. Here's another Chevy truck right here. Some more 58 9s. There's a big 1-ton panel there. I thought I'd be out in the shade here. Now I'm out in the sun. I should have brought my sun hat back in here. That's one thing you need in Florida. I've already got a sunburn. I had to buy some sunblock earlier. Put that on, but I should have got my hat out. I was thinking it'd be more in trees, but I do get a few breaks here and there. Another Chevy here, Bel Air, 4-door, 1960. There's an El Camino back in there. And we're on another path out through the woods there. I'll show you some of these Lincolns. There's a whole bunch of Lincolns right here. And looks like mostly Fords on this side. Get a Ford wagon. Another wagon over there. All sorts of Lincolns right along in there. Then we've got mostly Fords over here. Some shoe boxes, some 55, 6, 7, 8, 9s, stuff like that. There's another wagon right here. Get into the shade here a little bit. Remnants of one there. I don't know what that one is. But it's all donated a lot of parts. So it is even kind of hard to get a good feel for it, but there's stuff hiding in the trees. Shit, there's probably 50 of them back in over there that don't look like they've been touched in 40 years. I don't know how well you can see them, but they go all back through the trees there. Got a Vega wagon back in there. '59 Chevy here, Bel Air, 4-door. We'll jump up here a ways. We'll just kind of pan around this area. Looks like a Pontiac in the bushes there. Here's an Olds here. Lots of Ford and GM so far. Haven't seen much Mopar stuff. Not sure if we will or not. Hard to say. This looks like a 56 Chevy back in there. Got a 57 Chevy to the right of the road here. 57. That was a 4-door hardtop, looks like. It's amazing. I mean, I can't get to all the nooks and crannies, but you guys need something and you're down this way in Florida. This guy's got it. If you need it, he's got it, because he's got just a monster pile of stuff here. Especially if you're looking for trim parts, interior parts. You know, sheet metal is probably kind of rusty on a lot of these. But if you're looking for trim, interior, mechanical parts, it's probably got a lot of them. We'll kind of go down this row over here. It's an Oldsmobile there. Still lots of GM stuff over here too. Got a Buick back in there. Another Buick here. Well, these are mostly Buicks right along in here. There's a Roadmaster, looks like, with the 4 portholes. Seas and seas of Buicks here. Look at them all. These are all like 1950s, early 50s mostly. All these early to mid 50s. So this gives you a rough idea what there is, you know. Like I say, this is Old Gold down in Old Town, Florida, about 15 miles north or so of Old Town, right off the highway. And if you like these kinds of videos, please subscribe if you haven't already. We do lots of junkyards, swap meets, car shows, flea markets for antiques and stuff. Out in South Dakota, we go to ranches and stuff like that, see what we can find around the area. Picks, you name it. Anything automotive related or antique related, just never know what we're going to get into. We get all over the place. We go to these swap meets and people say, oh, you're way down here, huh? You guys get everywhere. Yeah, we put some miles on. So, look, here's a Buick convertible there. What's left of one. This whole row has been Buicks to the right here. But anyway, please subscribe if you haven't already. Give us thumbs up, give us good comments. Comment on what you want to see. Tell us what you like, what you don't like, stuff like that. All these things really help, you know, and giving a thumbs up is a really simple thing. You just click a little thumb and there you go, you get a thumbs up. And that really helps us, because the more activity we get on the channel, the more YouTube helps us and the more we can video, and it just makes the world go round. So if you can do that, please do. There's another, that one looks like a, I think that's a 1950, but that's I think it was a limousine. It looked like a real long body on it. Look at the wagon back here, the Buick wagon. So these are just about all Buicks. Oh, I do see a Chrysler over here in the corner. I don't know if we've seen a Chrysler yet. Get some Chevys over here. Mid to late 60s stuff. Here's a Mopar here. And there's one back here too. Looks like maybe a Plymouth right there. It's got a fastback, 2-door fastback. This one's a 2-door hardtop. Here's an Imperial. So there's a few back here in the corner. There's a Plymouth there. And we got a couple of hardtops here. One there and one over there. That one's had the back end cut off it. There's a Buick up on stilts. We'll jump ahead here a ways. Oh, we got some more Buicks over here. Looks like this whole aisle might be Buicks as well. These are all 60s ones. There's a Wildcat convertible back in there. We're gonna kind of pan side to side. Show you all these. There's another convertible there. I think I've seen more convertibles here than I have at any other junkyard. Lots of convertibles. A lot of them have had tops taken off them and stuff, but there's still a bunch here that have top mechanisms and stuff like that if you want to convert. I bet you if you come here in the summer, look at these. The vines and stuff are just taking these over. I bet you if you're here in the summer, you can't even see those. And you can see a crop off there in the distance. with some irrigation system, so there's a farm out back there. This guy's got a great location here. Off the beaten path, nobody bothering him. Stuff's all hiding in the trees here. But there is a giant junkyard right here. There's a big Buick Electra here to the right. Well, we're finally way at the back of the yard here, but we haven't gone the full width of it yet, so we're going to get over to the other portion of it here. Well, we're kind of pan through these. There's a Cutlass there. I think I found my new favorite place in Florida to stop. There's some nice beaches and stuff, but still, I still like going to junkyards. Chevy here, Biscayne, 2-door post. This looks like mostly Chevy stuff back in here. '64 hardtop there. Kind of scan along the back here. Looks like another hardtop back in the bushes over there. There's a whole sea of them here to the right and left. Kind of going up a path here. Gonna scan over this side just to show you what there is. Mostly late 50s and 60s. Popular stuff now. Another Chevy wagon there. Get over to this side. Here's an Oldsmobile. There's an Olds convertible there. Somebody must have got some brake parts or something off it years ago. They jacked up the front of it and there it sits. Well, there's Camaros and Firebirds and all kinds of stuff back in this bushes here. Actually, there's lots of vehicles back in here that you can't even get to anymore because the vines have totally taken them over. There's dozens of them that I can see here that you can't even get to anymore. I'm not sure how far back they go, but there's a bunch of them there. And then maybe if they go back further, there might be a whole slew of them back in there. Some more 63, 4 stuff. Got another El Camino over in there. There's a wagon just beyond it. We'll jump ahead here a ways. Well, we got onto the other side of those trees there. There's an Olds Coronado. Lots of GM stuff. I think this is one of the biggest collection of GM stuff I've seen. You can see the stuff goes way back to those trees over there, only it's kind of all overgrown. So you'd have to have a machete to get back in there to get some of those. Another Oldsmobile there. A couple more convertibles here. This one's the Bonneville Pontiac. Oldsmobiles. Another convertible here. Seen quite a few Vista Cruisers too with the glass top windows. Got one back in there. Here's a Super 88 Olds. That is quite the collection of stuff. Bunch of Oldsmobiles over in here. Just kind of panning around, you know, it's the best we can do at a place like this. This would take days to go through each and every car if I didn't pass out from the heat or get bit by a snake. Well, they probably got spiders up in here too. Here's another Olds Holiday hiding in the bushes there. You can see there's a whole bunch more of them in between the palm trees and all the weeds and stuff there. We'll jump ahead here a ways. Well, this is more well-traveled road here. Looks like he's up in this area more often. You got a 58 Chevy back in there. There's a Malibu. Got a Nova here to the left. Chevy Super Sport here. Another convertible. Got some of the top mechanism there. So I'd say if you're looking for a GM or even a Ford convertible top mechanism or convertible parts, this has got to be one of the guys with the biggest collection of them. You sure got a lot of them. Kind of pan over that stuff. There's just hundreds of cars back in there as well. I think it's safe to say this guy's got probably 4,000 or 5,000 cars here. That's a guesstimate. Got a 57 Chevy right there, two-door post. But there is quite a pile of them. More Chevys back in here. 63 over there. There's a Malibu. We got Novas, we got Malibus, we got Impalas, you name it. It's all in here. Just see another Cadillac limo. I don't know if you can see that, but if you're watching on a bigger screen, you probably can. Caddy limo over there. Another Nova. Got a 60 Chevy. Look, here's a Nova here that snapped in half. It's a convertible. But it had looks like it had a rusty frame or something that snapped in half when they moved it. Look at these. Here's the backside of some of those ones that we saw earlier. All the vines growing on them. You can't even hardly see them. So we'll just walk down this path. Show you some of these. Chevy 2. Another 58 Chevy here, Biscayne. But they go, there's like 10 deep here on the left. And on the right, they're probably also 10 deep. So he's got a forklift, he can kind of move them around and dig out what he wants to work on them. But that is quite a chore to get in there to some of these with all the vines and everything. See, here's some more to give you an example. And I'm guessing in the summer, like I said, these must be totally inaccessible. You can see there's a car there under that bump. Another one here under the bump of vines, but that would be a chore to get at them. So there's not a lot of trucks here. It's more in the car department, and mostly in the 50s and 60s, some back to the 40s, but I'd say mostly 50s and 60s. And there's piles of them here under these weeds that you can see. We're kind of getting back to this other corner here. I think this is a southwest corner. There's an El Camino back there. Looks like a 59 or 60. Seems like that would be worth digging out. Even if somebody made a rat rod or custom out of it or something. You can see lots of rooftops over in there. Quite a place. A lot different than what we see out our way in South Dakota and Nebraska. Everything's wide open, so you can get right at everything. But out here, when they sit for a while, they just get all overgrown. We're gonna walk back up this path and get up towards the front a ways. Well, we're just gonna pan around the front up here. He's got some Thunderbirds here, a couple convertibles. Just gonna show you what's up in the front area here. I guess, you know, from what he was saying, back in the 80s and 90s, he was buying 50 cars a week. All the yards were saving stuff for him, and at one point he had 7,000 cars here. Now he's got about 3,000, it sounded like. I was guessing about 4 or 5, but I don't know. He says he's got about 3. But anyway, one point he crushed a bunch, and that's when they got rid of all the Chrysler stuff. He had some guy that wanted to rent part of the yard for heavy equipment or something. So in 2007, when the scrap price was high, everything was going to China. They crushed thousands of cars, and all the Mopar stuff went. So that's why you don't see any Mopar stuff. There's an F1 back in there. Looks like a Chevy Coupe there, maybe. But anyway, he's been at this 47 years. Got lots of stuff. Been working at it a long time. Gonna show you, this is his front office right there in that building. And he's got this Quonset that's full of stuff too. You can see it's all labeled and stuff back in here. Even out of the sunlight, you can see there's just racks and racks of stuff there. Look at all the fan shrouds. There's all kinds of stuff in there. Brackets, hubcaps, steering columns. So just get a hold of them if you want to buy some parts. And we're gonna keep walking here. We'll check out a few of these over this way. Got an Olds 88 here. This one's a 4-door. Got the little sunshades on it. Another Olds over in the corner there. Kind of scoop by these. Look, he's got the Old Gold signs up there too, like his place. The Old Gold cigarettes. Olds there. I got a Chevy here. A couple Chevys here. This one's a 2-door post. So anyway, this is a good guy. It's pretty easy going. There's a little Sabre. There's a short box Ford there. But if you need some stuff, get a hold of them. Here's another short box Ford. And we're out by the road here. Got a few more, couple Camaros here, more modern Camaros there, convertibles. RS model. Some more GM stuff here. Looks like a Chevy back in there, Monte Carlo. Now we're gonna work our way towards the front here like we said, but there's a Suburban back there. All kinds of stuff here as we're walking. Tornado. There's some Pontiacs over on this side. Gonna jump back behind me, show you a few of them. Looks like a Ford Falcon over there. 60 Chevy there. There's an Edsel here. But there, you know, we went down some of the main aisles, but there's this slews of stuff in these trees as well. There's another Pontiac hardtop. Oldsmobile. Chevy Impala here. 4-door hardtop. Got a wagon here. Chevy wagon. So we're just kind of walking up. This is the main path that comes in. I don't know if you can see in the video. Let's get up here a little bit. See, way at the end of the road, there's like a Quonset style building. And that's where I came in, so I'm working my way out. Another El Camino buried back there in the bushes. Here's a Chevelle here. So lots of Chevy stuff. So lots of Ford stuff, you know, Ford, Mercury, Lincoln. But just seas of GM stuff. And really very little Mopar. They had a few stuck out in the back corner there. There's a 55 to 9 style Chevy cab there. Another Olds, couple more Olds Tornados here. Got a square body here. Long box. Got a Malibu here on the left. Like I say, you can see where they just pulled something out here. They were over here messing around when I got here. Pulled the car out, brought it up front. They're taking parts off it. But this goes way over to that tree line. It's just you really can't get back there. I mean, you could if you really wanted to, but it would make it tough to video back in there. Plus, he said there's a lot of snakes around here, so just got to watch where you're walking. He said, watch the ground. So I've done just that. And we got a Mustang here. Chevelle there. Got a Le Mans bent in half over here. Look at the old Ford van there under that. There's a Malibu up on top of it. Some more 55s and 6s. It's a 56 right here, Ford. And we've probably got these semi-trailers full of stuff. There's a Vega. Anyway, we're going to end it there. Show you, just pan around this stuff here. You can see that building there. Building over there is full of doors and bumpers and stuff. Other than this Quonset style building is just totally full of stuff too. And they're up here working, so we're going to end it here. I hope you enjoyed the video. This is Old Town, Florida, just to recap. Old Gold is the place, so check them out if you're in the area and need parts. They got them. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next round.